Okay, great day once again, everyone. My name is Shem Akisomi. Once again, here to give you an idea on how to price your photography work. Okay, I've gotten a couple of questions from people that are just starting out in this business of photography, and their main challenge is, how do I price my work? How do I price the photography album I'm about to give this client, or my portrait session with this client? And my response to them was actually an advice I got from one of my mentors when starting out many years ago, Tom McDonald, that's his name, and the same advice I'm giving to you. And basically what he told me then, told me in the form of books. I read it in a book, not as if I met him one-on-one. But he told me that it is very important you calculate the immediate costs of what it will take to deliver whatever product you want to deliver to that client. So that means if I'm covering a wedding and I'm going to deliver an album with one frame, my goal is to calculate all the materials that will go into the production of that particular album. Okay, so I'll be looking at transportation to and fro from the event, back to my house or office. I'll be looking at the cost of the printing materials, the paper. I'll be looking at the cost of the album itself. Okay, and if there's somebody else binding it, how much they are charging. I'll be looking at the cost of the frame. Okay, so at the end of the day, my goal is to calculate the total cost of all these, raw materials and quotes. And then whatever total it comes to, let's assume the total in this scenario for one wedding album comes to about $100. He advises us to use a multiplication factor of between 3 and 10. And what that means basically is that you can get that total $100 bill and multiply it by 3, giving you a total of about $300. If you are starting out, that's a good place to start, charging either between $300 and $1,000. Okay, the difference between, your costs, at least for now, which is $100 of making that particular album, and the margin that you charge will now depend on how much you want to value your own creativity and the value you place on your brand. Remember, use a multiplication factor of between 3 and 10 and multiply that by the total costs of what it will take you to produce that product, an album in this particular situation. So you'll be looking at between $300 and $1,000. But one thing you need to take into note is the fact that this cost must include just temporary, costs in quotes. When we say temporary costs, we are not including the cost of the camera that you use to go and cover the event. I mean, you can't tell me that, okay, I use Canon 7D, which costed me about $2,000 something, and add that to the cost of, the album. Having a Canon 7D, according to most accountants, is considered an asset, a long-term asset that will be used for more than one job. Okay, so it's important you only consider the temporary materials that I'll be using that has to do with that particular job alone. If there's a tool that you'll be using for more than one job, let's say maybe you have a car, for example, you can't add the cost of that car, for Christ's sake. You can only add maybe the cost of the fuel that you use to transport yourself to and fro. Okay, so it's important that you don't add the fixed assets, the cost of the fixed assets to this cost, before you calculate your price. Okay, so for starting out in pricing, at least that's a fair place to start out. Presently, I know photographers that charge, way more than 20 times the cost of what it would take for them to deliver the product. The 20 times, multiplication factor for them is also, the margin and the value they place on their own brand. There are photographers that, it might cost them $100 to produce an album for a wedding, but then they can charge the client $20,000. I mean, it might not make sense to the average person, but then the difference, the margin that it's on that particular job goes to their own brand. They are expensive brands, but you starting out, you can't afford to probably charge that high. Okay, so you can put that into practice and hope that helps. Once again, remember, if you have any questions whatsoever, any comments or suggestions, don't forget to drop us a message at our inbox, info@ellophotos.com. Thank you very much for listening. Have a nice day.